Greetings, this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and I just watched the part 1 of the That Hope Is You, Star Trek Discovery Season 3. This is a review. It does not contain any footage from it. It's a review. Commentary, first thoughts. I don't go into in-depth detail on the reviews. There are other channels that do that. Trek Yards, for instance, will do that. But here is it's on Star Trek Discovery's reboot, where they did the Stransky script and the Fuller script and went a little further off in the future, which is what they should have done originally. But the third season of Star Trek show is typically better than the second season, unless they get their foot on the ground. Last season on Discovery, they transported the ship 930 some years into the future with crew because it to avoid Control taking over, which was sort of a Terminator AI kind of thing, an Eve kind of thing. So Burnham arrives in the future on the Red Angel suit. The Red Angel suit played into the Sillian saga last summer, but here it doesn't, because so that means that all these events take place before she got through the wormhole. Boy, including the last one, which was the Fallen one. So it was all before she even arrived. So, another version of her is running around in the Red Angel suit. Anyway, so. But which allegedly takes place in 3188 as well, but it's still 2020. So she arrives in the future, crashes into a ship that's a trader ship, he's basically Han Solo. He's like Han Solo. It's not Idris Elba, but that's probably what they're thinking of. Idris Elba, somebody similar. Named Booker, who has a cat. His name is Grunge, I guess. Grunge. With a thyroid condition. So there's basically there's a Houdini in it, but it's a longer, more of a Maine Coon kind of cat. Long-haired version of Houdini. Because of course they've got to have some connection with on location. Also, they have an Orion and an Andorian who were acting like Kal Kat and Mark's cards. And the taller Orion guy was the Kal Kat, and the shorter one, the Andorian one, was Mark's cards. But yeah, that wasn't us, but they were acting like us. They couldn't blatantly go there because they even had to acknowledge Idris Elba, a game series that inspired the tardigrades there somewhere in the end credits. They totally. They also took a little bit of action arm. They also took it's also very similar to other like distant future things. They go to a space station where the Andorians and the Orions are buddies on this space station. It's like the Cantina in Star Wars, and it's like Freaky Loud basically from the other one. It's like or Free Cloud from Picard, but in a parody it's Freaky Loud. So casino thing, and there's like they have technology that is like supposed to be hundreds of years in the future, but of course they had to come up with weird ways for that to not be hundreds of years in the future. There's fight scenes, there's action, she immediately starts fighting with the Booker character on the planet because he thinks she's another like scavenger, and then this leads to them sort of becoming cautiously interested, even though at no point earlier was there ever any chemistry with her other characters. But of course, he's a handsome, strapping young man, so of course she likes it. Yes. It's a case of the not gay. But it's like she's bi. She's obviously sweet on Tilly too, so she's bi. But this guy's gonna turn her affection. Well, maybe as a friend, let's say. So there's she has to get back to her ship, but they can't find the ship. They showed in the previews the ship crashed, so they already, I don't know what they're doing there. I think it's a bait and switch, and it won't be crashed, because then they show it in other previews not being crashed. The burn apparently happened 130 years earlier in the 3080s or somewhere around there. 30s, yeah, 3060s. When all dilithium somehow exploded. That sounds very Silly Trek. It's like, oh, let's just make all dilithium explode. Yeah, that'd be Silly Trek. Even though they're running around with dilithium as currency in the story. It's kind of weird. So there are spoilers, yeah, of the story. It is a good Star Trek episode, though. It works on multiple levels. There's going to be more in-depth reviews of on other channels where they can actually show footage. We can't. We can push the envelope, but we can't show footage, as we discovered when we tried to put up previews for Discovery, just to do a trailer review, and they immediately flagged it. So yeah, we can't put up trailer reviews for this one either. I guess the animated one's okay with it, but that's because they're copying Starship locations. They're okay with that. The new animated one, Prodigy, also has Janeway in it. So that isn't out yet. The animated one just ended. So yeah, they go on a quest to find the ship. Not so much to get the smuggling currency. They're smuggling critters, apparently. The guy has so they ripped off Star Wars Episode 7 a little bit, because they had like a giant creature attacking the bad guys. It tried to swallow Burnham, but it spit her out because he talked her into it. He's got healing powers. He's got some kind of nature powers, which is kind of like Avatar, The Last Airbender, and in the other Avatar, the movie with the Avatar. They go to apparently Nibiru, or a Nibiru-like planet from Star Trek 09, to hang out there and give the creature back to the Nibiru mating grounds, I guess. They keep suggesting they're going to mate in this, because he's an alpha. Alpha, betas, and omegas. Yeah, the whole... Well, let's not go there. That's something else. That's this Incorrect Wolf book that was years ago. But yeah, they don't do that. But apparently there are fanfics that we'll not go into, because it had nothing to do with this. Although there is plenty of misogyny and plenty of smacking around going on. So that is related, actually, to that scene. Not intentionally, but yeah, it's in there. It's slashy, definitely. It's shippy. They're looking for a ship for shipping. They go to an office at the end where they find, again, spoilers, they find this archivist who's on the planet. They're similar to the Alt Transformers Mush stories too. It's weird. Well, they read them too, obviously. I looked for people that were associated with our cast in the credits, to see whether they were there in this one. But unlike with the animated one, nope. It looks like, except for some characters that appear to be like our fanfic, not as much this time around. However, they will be introducing the bi-gendered Trill lady later on. That is right out of her stories, but she wasn't a Trill in other stories. It was just a person. Also, they referenced them in some other fanfics. Not Gamelt. Interestingly enough, he didn't do that there. Somebody else did. Like Coela Gwyn did the fanfic. But yeah, let's see what else. It was part one of a two-parter, so kind of the story's going to seem like it's half there because it's part one of a two-parter. The effects were, except for melting holographic beds, melting holographic consoles and stuff, the distant future was not too different from the Discovery timeline. They had those weird space guns that apparently could shoot the stuff, and apparently the Gorns blew up 2 light years of space. The Gorns and the Cardassians, subspace. How the hell they did that? No. does beg the question. It does beg the question: are they the beginning of the temporal cops, the temporal core? Is this where it starts? Because that would be an interesting twist. If actually Future Guy was actually, yeah, that. And also, is she her own mother? Is that what they're doing? Because Michael, that would be interesting. If Booker and she were supposed to hook up, go back to the past, and be her own like mother. That's explaining the timeline is completely screwed up because she literally invented herself into Star Trek and then took herself out of Star Trek. Is that a controlled plan? Because it doesn't make sense. Also, we have most of the crew of the Discovery that went with the Discovery into the future. Would it make more? Yeah, there's a lot of. If you analyze it too much, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, it's better than that. Also, yes, I'm sure somebody will mention Doom Clock and Midnight's Edge. Having quoted some of the Kal Kat stuff, they misquoted the Kal Kat stuff. I've always given a critique, tried to be balanced as much as possible, review of Star Trek and Star Wars. I have not knocked the new stories any more than anyone else has. So I'm sure they're gonna go on here. Oh, Star Trek Discovery thing. You're just a Discovery shell. Yeah, like it was before. All of a sudden, just because he likes it, because it's pretty and there's explosions. Yeah, I'm sure they'll go there. But no, it was a fairly well-written story. I think Brian Fuller returned and helped out with some of them. So there is somebody. Brian Fuller came back and helped out with some. So yeah, he was done doing American Gods, so he came over to help out with it. And Michael J. Skrinsky's original Beyond the Federation story, the Federation, Star Trek Federation, they're liberally stealing from that premise. I didn't see his name in the credits, but maybe I missed it. He's the guy that did Babylon 5, so it's his stuff they're cribbing from this season. Yeah, a little bit of Dune in there too. A little bit. A lot of Star Wars too, so it's kind of interesting. Yeah. I understand that little robot from Ephraim and Dot is going to be in it somewhere. He's in the credits a lot. Not sure why. So the robot has something to do with this. Yeah, so, also the Children of Mars thing with the, yeah, that's the Picard show though. And next season on Picard, LeVar Burton is going to show up, and two others. I'm going to say who yet. And I guess they filmed a lot of this in Iceland during the beginning of the pandemic. So they filmed a lot of the footage, characters in their thing. Pandemic is still going on. But they filmed it in almost isolation because there's nobody in Iceland. So a lot of it was filmed in this very desolate looking landscape, which has been in a bunch of movies now and is actually recognizable, including in that weird Tom Cruise movie, The Day After Tomorrow, or whatever it was, with the alien. Iceland there too, with a CGI building, like buildings of New York put on top of it. And well, there's I don't need to ramble on too much about part one of part two. So there's my Discovery review, pretty much. It's not so much a Kal Kat thing as yet, as of yet. But yeah, I didn't have anything to do with producing it. But neither do the other people that complain that I don't. On Trek, or their Trek Yards, Trek Core, they have often said, like, "Oh, this guy, it's like, we claim we know everything. How can you do? Like, well, I do have some minor connections too. The old school Star Trek, so yeah, you can kind of guess, educated guess, and on a lot of that stuff. I have not worked for Abrams, although it's weird that apparently, it's weird because that's similar to our stuff. Or for Fuller. Yeah. I have not worked for Fuller. I haven't worked for Fuller. Anyway, so And I'm definitely not working for Midnight's Edge and Doomcock. I'm not those guys. No. They were quoting me incorrectly. I told them that Kathleen Kennedy has not been fired, and I told them that there's going to be a third season of Discovery, and that they're actually doing well. However, they're over-exaggerating their CBS All Access channel. They're going to change the name of that to Paramount Plus. Yeah, that's not a secret. Now that they've merged. So, but yeah, CW stuff, which would make us indirectly related again. It'd be weird when the pandemic ends. Yeah. So, so yeah, that was my review of the episode so far. It was set in the distant future, but didn't seem all that distant. Cyberpunky looking. It had a casino planet. It had a desolate planet. It had a cat. I mean, what's not to love? It had a strapping young, studly black dude who took off his shirt at one point. It's like, do you know what they say? Go black, you never go back. They say. Yeah, Burnham Marty is so. Yeah, Burnham's basically the also Ransom from the other series. It's the same kind of character. Just, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So there's a Federation archivist with a flag at the end, which they kind of gave away in the previews. So that's my review.